All right, this is part two on sitemaps. On the first part, I showed you how to set up the sitemap and get going on that. Obviously, you'll have a lot of work to still be done on it, but this was the preliminary on it. Still adding the landscaping, all the texturing for the grass, trees, shrubs, planter areas, all that has to be going into that. So anyway, I got it started for you. That was an example on part one. This is part two. So what we're going to look at part two is the hatching. What I did is experiment a little bit on this hatching for you, give you an idea of what to do. And this draw order that I'm going to talk about, we'll talk about more tomorrow. But what I did is you can see over in the walkway, I wanted just to do a regular hatch on there. On the drive area, I did a hatch, as you can see down towards the bottom. But I also, on the second and third part, I went ahead and put a gradient in there. And what you can do is put a gradient. It gives a little bit of background, a little bit of texture on that. And then the gradient on initially went right over the top of everything. So as I choose the hatching portion of this, I can do a draw order on that. So right now it says I've selected the hatch portion. I did not choose select the gradient. So what I'm going to do is at the Home tab over in the Modify panel, there's a drop down. It's called Draw Order. So I'm going to bring that gradient to front. And you can't quite see it. So what I'm going to do is, let me try that again and send this to back and see if that's going to make a difference. All right, so it's really fighting me on this. And so what I think I'd like to do, if I can, let's see if I can get it, grip this. I'm still gripping the wrong one on that. So, okay, there we go. Now I grab the gradient and you have to get it just right. Again, at the Home tab, Modify panel, drop down, and I'm going to send that to back, that gradient to back. And it's still fighting me a little bit on this, so I probably have to rehatch this top portion on this. But anyway, you can mess with that and see how it looks. Now, the example here is all right. I like this, the sidewalk, the way this looks. This might pop out a little too much with the gradient. But let's look over here at the paper space. We have a couple issues going on here. You can see how these different types of texturing look on here. You want to make sure you don't take away from your house. That's your main thrust of this, is your house. So you'll experiment with that and let you do what you want. You can leave a regular hatch on that. You can play with the gradient on it and see how it all works out. The next thing we have to look at is our line types. You can see here in paper space, our line types are not showing up. If I come back over here to model space, the line types are showing up here perfectly. The center line for the PL, the dashed line for the UE, and the building line, the 10-foot building line, is a phantom line. Over here in the site plan, they're not showing up. So the first thing we need to do is adjust our line type scale in our paper space. This is in your book, and as well you can Google this if you have to, or you can write this down as we go through this. So the first thing you're going to do is unlock the viewport. Now, just a little side note, I've already scaled this drawing, so when I unlock it, I have already scaled it 3/32 equals 3/32 of an inch equals 1 foot. So I've already scaled this, I've positioned it, but now I'm going to adjust my line types. You don't have to scale it first. I would suggest doing that because that could change on this. All right, so to change the line types, to get them to show up, you're going to type in PSLT scale. And it auto-completes for you, PSLT scale. And again, make sure you unlock the viewport first, then type PSLT scale in, and then you'll see this numeric value. Now, if it says 1, change it to a 0. If it says 0, change it to a 1. Real simple. Now, you can see the line types still have not changed on here, so you still have to do one other function, that's regen all, REGENALL, regen all, enter. Now, I'm going to go ahead and lock this viewport so I don't mess up my scaling. And the 3/32 equals 1 of an inch equals 1 foot would go right down here. And now when I zoom in on my line types, my center line, my property lines and everything, it's all looking just perfectly fine on that. So again, unlock the viewport, type in PSLT scale, If it's 1, change to 0. If it's 0, change to 1 and regen all. And then you're all set on that. So that's all set. The next thing we have to look at is our vicinity map. We need a vicinity map on our site plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select my viewport line and delete. This is the polygonal viewport line. I'm going to delete that. Now, the next thing I did is I went ahead and did this in advance. I did a 7-inch, just a regular line, snapped it up here, and I just put in 7 inches, and then came over this way, put in 7 inches, and closed this out. So I have a 7-inch by 7-inch by 7-inch square here in the top right corner. And this is where the vicinity map is going to go. All right, the next thing you're going to do is do another polygonal. There's a little bit of review, layout, and over to layout viewport panel, and do the drop down and go to polygonal. And with your snaps on and ortho on, you're going to come along here. Now you're going to go around these control lines, this 7-inch by 7-inch control line. So you go around that with your polygonal viewport. Come down here and snap in the perpendicular snap. Come into your first curve, and if you remember this, you hit the beginning of curve, and then A, enter for the arc, because you're going around this corner. And snap in there, and then you're going back to the line, Command L, enter. Still in the polygonal viewport function. And there's the beginning of curve, left click, now A, enter, go into the arc command again. Now this time just hover over your start point, just hover, and CL to close it. Now we have our site map back. We'll have to rescale it. So double click on the inside of the viewport. Let's see, what will scale about the same. 3/32, I think is what I had it at. And then mash down the center wheel, move it without adjusting the scale. And that fits in there real nice at 3/32 of an inch. I might come down just a little bit. Nicely balanced. I can move it over a little bit, kind of center it up on the sheet. Double click on the outside of the viewport to lock it. And now we have our site map scaled. We have the line types all set. The next thing we have to put in is our vicinity map. And we have our control lines, our 7-inch by 7-inch control lines drawn here on top of Paperspace. This is part of the 5% that you draw in Paperspace. And so now we need another viewport. So again, we go to Layout, Tab, Layout Viewport Panel, and this time we're going to grab the rectangular. Left click on Rectangular Viewport. Command line says specify the corner of the viewport. Here's my corner. Now it says opposite corner. I'll go diagonal on my control lines. Left click there. Now, next thing is to create that vicinity map, which I've already done in Model Space. Make sure you do it in Model Space. And I made a layer called Vicinity Map, made that active, and these are just regular lines, not any specific distance. So I have a line going down here, a line intersecting it, not a special place or anything, it's just random. I named this line here as CAD Street, and this is First Street. You can use whatever street names you want. I won't hold you, but have 2 streets. Notice my site location. I've shown that just with a regular polygon rectangle. It's not any certain size or anything like that, just randomly drawn. And then I have it away from this cross street, because remember, we have properties on the east and west side of our property. I don't have a center line here for my street. As I pose down here, I do have a center line for my street under CAD Street. That's in the main part. But these are just solid continuous lines. I drew or copied my north arrow from down here and put it up here. And then I added NTS here for not to scale, because this is not to scale. This vicinity map is not to scale. Now I can go back to my site plan, go to my vicinity map viewport, double click on the inside of that one to unlock it. And now, and actually I need to zoom in a little bit for my eyesight. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Lock the viewport, double click on the outside of the viewport to unlock it. And now I'll find my vicinity map right here. Oops, not unlocked. That should be unlocked. No, it's refused to unlock. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to zoom in on my vicinity map, and I'm going to position that kind of nicely squared up in there. Now you notice my lines on my streets go out beyond. That's fine. That's no problem. I don't have to worry about scale. All I want to do is I'm going to go one click in. All I want to do is fill this area here. Now what I would probably, I like this size a lot better. And probably, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and lock this. And I'm just going to move everything over, move everything over in model space. So I'll lock that viewport. I'm going to go ahead and move this text, select it, M, and just go ahead and grab a point on here. And I'm going to move this in a little bit closer. And then I'm going to move my arrowhead and my notation. I'm going to do a move on that. And I'm probably going to set that on the other side over here. See how that's looking. I forgot to grab part of my arrow. So go back, just hit escape, and then move command, make sure I got everything. And I'm going to go ahead, and this may be a little bit big. We'll see how this works out on the vicinity map. So now we go back to the site map. That looks pretty darn good. Just about right. So it doesn't have to be scaled because it's NTS, not to scale. Just zoom in and out, fill that. This is no special sizes or anything. Really easily done, really quick. All right. So everything is locked now. I have my site map all done. I have my vicinity map all done. I have to fill out my title block, but make sure you get everything completed in model space before you're all set to go. So as you can see, we're doing all our drawings in one drawing file. Up here is Final Project DT, and I have my elevations over here. I can get those on the north-south. I think I already have those centered up. There we go on that. Now I have my site plan. I have my floor plan, and I don't have everything turned on that, so I could go ahead and turn off the roof. I'll turn off the roof design because I don't need that on my floor plan. And then I'll turn on interior walls, turn those on, and turn on exterior walls. And I would turn on the windows in the floor plan and the doors in the floor plan. And I should be good to go. And there it starts to show up. Now, why the interior walls aren't showing up, let's see if I missed that. Interior walls, and not sure why they're not showing up. I may have those on a wrong layer. So let's go back to model space. This will be good learning and see what's going on. What layer are these on? Interior walls. And maybe I just have the wrong floor plan. I probably have this floor plan in there. It doesn't have the interior walls. So fix that real quick. Hopefully I don't run out of recording time. Select all this. Control C, Control V to paste it, and I'm going to paste it right over here. I'm going to get rid of this guy, delete, go back to my floor plan tab, double click inside of here, double click on the center wheel, and there's the floor plan I want. Of course, it's not completed, but, and then I would turn off this notation here. I don't need that on the floor plan. I would scale it. And let's see if we can get it just a little bit bigger before I run out of recording time. And that probably be just about right by the time we get notations and dimensions on there. And so that scale of 3/16 of an inch equals 1 foot would now go down here in there. Of course, this is not complete, but this gives you an idea on how that is. And now we have 3 sheets, 1, 2, 3 sheets, and possibly 4 sheets set up. Depending where we're at, all from one file tab. Make sure you hit save often. And as always, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Thanks so much for listening.